Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, November 19th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at SERoundtable.com over the past week. Lots to discuss. We had the Google November core update start to roll out a couple days ago. Get into that a little bit later. SiteGround's issue in terms of Googlebot not being able to crawl their 2 million or so crazy number of hosted websites, 2 billion maybe. Google had a major shopping bug over Friday night of last week where the CPC spiked significantly. And we even have some news about Snowden, so stay tuned. And of course, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Loud Interactive. Loud Interactive is a Chicago-based SEO firm led by Brett D. Payne. So definitely check them out at loud.us. Thank you so much for sponsoring, and check them out. Maybe they can help you with this core update if you got hit. Any event, let's get into the news. So like I said, we had this Google November 2021 core update that started rolling out. It officially started rolling out around 11 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, November 17th. It was a normal core update. We started to notice the impact, which I'll get into a little bit later, but basically the timing was just incredible. I'm honestly shocked that Google released it when they did. It kind of makes me feel they're a little bit out of touch. The Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday season is literally in less than 2 weeks. Core updates roll out. All right, so you based your data, your inventory, your e-commerce site based on your historical data. You're ranking really well for selling, I don't know, fleeces or Rode mics or cameras or whatever it might be. You stock up on that stuff. You hire your staff. You're all ready for the Cyber Monday holiday season where you're going to get tons and tons of orders because that's what you've been seeing for the past few weeks, and you've been seeing your trends are doing really well. Google search, great. You hire up, you stock up, you do all this great stuff. You're ready to go for the business. Google rolls out this update, your rankings drop. What do you do with that inventory? What do you do with your staff? Do you fire them? What do you do with your inventory? What do you do? This could happen to a small business. I don't know if this happened to any specific person watching this video. I don't know if this happened to any business out there with this core update, but that's the risk. That's why historically Google has said numerous times we tried to limit rolling out updates during holiday seasons. Generally that means before holiday seasons. Generally that means before the shopping season. Although Google has done it. Google did it last year after the shopping season. People were complaining, how could Google roll out an update before the holidays? It was after the big shopping season. I'm like, I didn't think that was a big deal. This one I think is a big deal. We'll see. Again, Google did issue a comment saying later on that they will give it more consideration going forward. Again, it's I don't know what's involved. Okay, just to step back a little bit. I don't know what's involved in pushing out a Google update. I don't work at Google. I don't know if them waiting 2 weeks to push out this update would be impossible or hard or disrupt everything else that they're doing in the pipeline. I don't know. All I know is that we had this year we only had, this is the third update, core update, at least announced public core update we had this year. We had one again in 2020 in December, after the shopping season, after the big online shopping season. We had one in June and July, 2-part update, and now we're having this November update. I don't know. I'm not sure how big of a deal would have been to push out off 2 weeks. All right. That being said, it started to roll out on November, a Wednesday at 11 a.m. And we started to see actually the tools start to tremendously spike over yesterday afternoon as well. The chatter started to significantly also happen. Similar stuff that you see. I saw a 20% drop. I saw a 30% drop. I saw a massive increase. I saw a massive decrease. My business is dead. My business is doing great. Nothing's changed. All that type of stuff. We saw that chatter like you would see. But SEMrush is off the charts. All the tools are starting to show off the charts types of updates that you would see from one of these broad core updates. Again, this looks to be significant. It's still super early, but we should see the full results within the next few days. And then obviously it takes about a week or two to fully roll out. And Google will tell us when it's fully rolled out. But if you got hit, you're not alone. This definitely was a big, big update. So keep in mind that you're not alone. So hopefully you guys are doing well. But if you did get hit, you're not alone. There's a community behind you. All right, moving forward. If you are on hosted by SiteGround, which I never heard of, honestly, I'm a little bit ashamed, but they host a tremendous amount of websites. I think they host like 2 million, an insane number of websites, small business websites. And they had an issue last week, or actually over a week ago, basically around Googlebot not being able to crawl websites hosted on their platform. They said it was an AWS issue. I use AWS. It was probably a specific issue with their AWS infrastructure and how they set it up. But it was all fixed. Going forward, you don't have to worry about it. Google will pick up on the changes. John Mueller went ahead and said, don't worry, things will settle down. He did a whole post about what happens with DNS issues and crawling. In short, everything will go back to normal over time. But if you had any, significant drops in traffic over that week period, that's because Google couldn't access your site and it couldn't pick up on your new content. But that's fixed. Talking about bugs, Google Shopping ads had a significant bug on a week ago Friday night. So this happened on November 12th, Friday night at around 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and it went through Saturday, November 13th, around 3 a.m. Pacific or midnight Saturday. It showed where people were actually noticing huge, like 200, 300% increases in their cost per clicks. Significant spikes. Google fixed the issue. They said they're going to reach out proactively to those who were impacted. So if you saw that, you didn't hear anything from Google, you might want to reach out to Google. But this was a significant bug that increased CPC rates across the board, specifically with shopping ads. Again. Google said it's promoting more local news in the Google search results. Google's been saying this year in, year out. We'll see if it actually happens, but they said now it's starting to roll out where Google's going to promote more local news organizations, news publishers. One is not just for COVID news, but for anything that they think will be relevant to the local area. Also, they'll be working on improving the systems so authoritative local news sources will appear more alongside the national publications. So a small news site like Search Engine Roundtable might appear next to the Wall Street Journal. Maybe not. And Google said it also will be improving local experience by refining their abilities to understand topics in beyond broad areas like sports and narrow topics like football versus high school football. Also, they're going to include these tweets when relevant. So we'll see. Hopefully, Google will promote more smaller publishers and local news. Microsoft, not to be outdone by Google, has announced their list of IP ranges that BingBot crawls using. A couple weeks ago, Google released Googlebot's IP ranges, so people could actually hard code those IP ranges into their things to block anything else. Now, Microsoft announced BingBot's IP address ranges, which they did like 10 years ago, but now they didn't do it for a while, so now they actually revised that in a JSON file as well. Microsoft sent an email to a site owner who was blacklisted or on a block list of some sort saying, we removed your block list from Bing search, so now you should perform well. So I guess it's more of a hands-on approach than a manual action that Google might have. Microsoft Bing will actually email people. If you email them saying, why am I not ranking? They might be like, oh, well, you are on a blacklist or a ban list, and we removed that ban list from you. Google has released new translated help docs around how Google, which we've seen over the past couple months, Google was basically translating some search results from one language to the other automatically. And then if you click on that search result, it would take you to a translated version of that page. Google officially confirmed that 2 days ago, or yesterday, basically saying that, yes, we have this, and here is our help docs around this. It has a help doc that's basically describing how Google translates your search results and how you can opt out of that if you wanted to. And two, how if you have Google ads or any ads on your website, how you can prevent or ensure that the ads are still loaded on the translated pages. So definitely take a look at that. Here's a screenshot how it kind of looks like and how it interacts. Google has released new structured data logo requirements. So for the organizational logo schema, that says that if you have a logo, it should look really, really good and proper as intended on a white or purely white background. So keep that in mind. That's a requirement now. Google, big news this week. Newsflash. Google's confirmed that that bolded words on a page do help with SEO and rankings. The SEO community went crazy about this news. I'm like, all right, John Mueller again confirmed bold does help a little bit with SEO and does provide a signal that this is an important word on the page. So don't bold everything on your page. I'm just shocked that kind of Google, that the SEO community went nuts about this. It's kind of funny, but SEO community does SEO community stuff. Google released an SEO checklist, an interactive one, that basically asks you to choose what type of person you are, like business you are. Are you a business owner? Are you a marketer? Are you a developer? Are you an SEO? And then it customizes the interactive checklist based on who you are, which is pretty cool. Google has revamped just a little that was on Google's 1 year Search Central move. Google moved their blogs and consolidated all their content to a Search Central location a year ago. Traffic is way up. They're doing great in SEO. And they actually named their mascot, the spider, the Googlebot spider. They named it Crawley, just a little heads up. Google has revamped the PageSpeed Insights tool. It's live now. They actually announced it a couple weeks ago, but it went live a couple days ago. It's pretty cool. Google also updated Lighthouse to 9.0. Definitely take a look at that. Google Search Console has some user permission bugs. It's a user interface issue. There is a workaround, so if you're having issues setting up user permissions, there's a workaround that I posted about this morning. Also, it seems a little bit backlogged. It's been backlogged. The Google Search Console performance report have been backlogged for the past few weeks. It's always like a couple days behind than it should. Maybe more like, I don't know, it used to be up to date it used to be as updated as 4 hours ago. Now it's like as close to 10 hours, and people are seeing it like 30 hours delayed as well. So I think this thing's a little bit backed up, of course. Google has a new carousel feature called Found in Video, which basically shows you, Google's understanding the videos better and saying your query is answered in this video, which is pretty cool. Google is testing a Google Lens button in the search bar on mobile, which is pretty cool as well. Google Maps has added a bunch of features around pickup with Kroger and their related stores. Also, restaurant price ranges, so you can actually see how much restaurants cost based on consumer data. More indoor mapping navigation features, and much, much more. So definitely take a look at that Google Maps post. Google Ads Customer Match is now supposedly more available to more people. Technically, yes, but it's still very limited in terms of who it's available to. There's a whole requirement and priority around who gets this customer match ability. Here's a little grid about that. And also, Google has this new preview tool that shows you, if it's actually around basically debugging customer match for you. Google has announced yesterday it has a bunch of new insights reports features like demand forecast, consumer interest, audio insights, and change history. So definitely take a look at that as well. Google Merchant Center finally allows you to sell medical test kits, so like COVID at-home test kits and so forth. They didn't allow that before, but now they are, so you can start selling those if you want to. This is cute. Bing has a little animated snowman next to the shopping tab in the search bar, which is pretty cute. And Edward Snowden basically complain about how search works. I asked him if he was referring to Google, brought in Danny Sullivan, and then he said yes, and he basically said Google search is totally unusable. Not just because the search results are not great, he said, also because he said it's basically, you can't use it in terms of a privacy fashion way. You can't just turn off your privacy tracking and use Google search in a very useful way. He said you should try it, and he went off on a little rant about that, which is pretty fun. In any event, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at SEOroundtable.com over the past week. Again, I try to keep this video and this podcast under 15 minutes or so I think I did that. If you like it, definitely subscribe, like the video on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast players. And thank you so much for listening. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. And I really, really appreciate loud.us. Thank you, Brett, for sponsoring this video. Deeply, deeply appreciate it. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next. Goodbye.